Hey, I'm Ammon, and this is Being in Time, let's say video 5. And it's very exciting today because we are going to get to the thesis of the book. So remember, we've been chatting here about the gigantomachia peri thesis, the gigantomachy, or the battle of the giants, concerning being, which Plato had said involved a struggle between the Olympians, representing what he will also sometimes call the friends of the forms here, and the earthbound giants, the materialists or corporealists. Two different approaches to what being is, in which Plato is very much a partisan, and which Heidegger is saying here at the beginning of Being in Time is a battle which has largely been forgotten. So does that mean that he's going to be a partisan in it? No, not exactly, at least right away. And as I'm going to talk about in the next video, I think keeping that in mind is going to be super important, understanding everything, not just in Being in Time, but throughout Heidegger's philosophy. But he is going to try to reawaken this battle. Now, why do we want to reawaken a battle between giants if it's already been settled? Shouldn't we let sleeping giants lie? As an interesting aside, and again, we already know that it's bad to be with poets. This is where I'm probably taking an analogy too far. It's interesting that the gigantomachia in the Greek mythology is a battle on behalf of the status quo, right? That is to say, the giants are challenging the rule of the Olympians, and the Olympians win, and therefore they keep the giants at bay, thanks to the help of at least of Heracles and possibly of other mortals as well. Now, that's different than the titanomachia, where they overthrow the Titans and become the new rulers. It's also interesting because if we read the Sophist, it really seems like Plato is establishing a new order, and that's exactly how Heidegger is going to take him. Indeed, let me pull up a quick passage here. So if I'm doing this right, we're seeing that Heidegger is saying that Plato and Aristotle managed to wrest something only with great difficulty, something that he's going to call incipient here. I'm not going to love that way of translating. I'll talk about why in a second. But Plato and Aristotle here are wresting something from being, something that they did from the phenomena, something they did at great cost, and something that we have lost sight of. Right? What is that? Well, as we've seen, it's the question as to what being means. What is the meaning of being? And here we finally are. What is the gigantomachia that Heidegger is going to be trying to reawaken in us? He's trying to get us to think about that question again. Is it going to be to answer it? This is something that I'm going to talk about extensively in the next video. But let's now turn finally to the thesis of the book. So again, let me see if I can do this right. If I'm doing this right, we see that our aim is to work out the question of the meaning of being concretely, and our provisional, I'm going to come back to that word in a second, aim is to work out time as the only horizon for any as the horizon for any possible answer to the question. So there we go. That's the thesis of the book, straightforwardly. We're going to re-engage this battle of the giants, not necessarily to take a stand yet, but in order to show that, in order to sort of remind us what this question of the meaning of being is, and also to, as a provisional attempt, to consider the only possible way of understanding that through the horizon of time. Now, really quickly, I'll talk about why I'm insisting on the question, and also that this is the thesis more in my next video. But I want to talk really quickly about these words provisional and what gets translated here as incipient. Right? And this is something I'm going to come back to in a couple of videos also. But for now, I want to notice the following. So those words there, provisional aim is fine. It's the German here is vorläufiges Ziel. And I promise I won't do too much German nonsense. But vorläufiges Ziel, to me at least, and it's also bear in mind that my German sucks, but vorläufiges in this context with zeal very much conveys a sense possibly of motion towards, right? So it's preliminary in the sense of a first stop, right? Rather than, let's say, as a first step in an argument, unless we really keep that metaphor alive. And incipient here, although it's got this sort of connection to being, the German there is Anlauf. It's got the same root word of laufen, and similarly can also mean something like a starting point in a very sort of spatial sense. I think it's worth noting these sort of very motion-heavy words. So I'm going to have 2 more videos about this particular passage here, And then I promise we're going to move a lot faster. We're not going to just spend 10 videos per page of the text. But I think framing this part correctly is going to help out in getting through the rest of the book more quickly, actually. And in these next two parts, I'm going to do two things. The first is I'm going to talk a little bit about, try to talk about ways to take the thesis here that I think can be misleading, and that I'll try to do so without maybe pissing off any of my colleagues, which will be fine because no one's going to watch this anyway. But we want to be careful. We don't want to start any sort of machia here. And secondly, I'm going to talk about in the second video, I'll talk about what I'm going to call maximal and sort of minimal interpretive strategy, which will really get at why I want to talk so heavily about motion.